whom the grand foe with scornful eye askance thus answered: "Ill for thee, but in wished hour of my revenge first sought, for thou return'st from flight, seditious angel, to receive thy merited reward. The first essay of this right hand provoked, since first that tongue inspired with contradiction durst oppose a third part of the gods in synod met, their deities to assert, who while they feel vigor divine within them can allow omnipotence to none. But well thou comest before thy fellows, ambitious to win from me some plume, that thy success may show destruction to the rest. This pause between unanswered, lest thou boast, to let thee know. At first I thought that liberty and heaven to heavenly souls had been all one, but now I see that most through sloth had rather serve, ministering spirits, trained up in feast and song. Such hast thou armed the minstrelsy of heaven, servility with freedom to contend, as both their deeds compared this day shall prove." To whom in brief thus Abdiel stern replied: "Apostate, still thou errest, nor end wilt find of erring from the path of truth remote. Unjustly thou depravest it with the name of servitude, to serve whom God ordains or nature. God and nature bid the same when he who rules is worthiest, and excels them whom he governs. This is servitude, to serve the unwise, or him who hath rebelled against his worthier, as thine now serve thee. Thyself not free, but to thyself enthralled, yet lewdly darest our ministering upbraid. Reign thou in hell thy kingdom, let me serve in heaven God, ever blessed, and his divine behests obey, worthiest to be obeyed, yet chains in hell, not realms expect. Meanwhile, from me returned, as erst thou saidst from flight, this greeting on thy impious crest receive." So saying, a noble stroke he lifted high, which hung not, but so swift with tempest fell, on the proud crest of Satan, that no sight nor motion of swift thought, less could his shield such ruin intercept. 10 paces huge he back recoiled, the 10th on bended knee, his massy spear upstayed, as if on earth, winds underground, or waters forcing way, sidelong had pushed a mountain from his seat. Half sunk with all his pines, amazement seized the rebel thrones, but greater rage to see thus foiled their mightiest. Ours joy filled, and shouts, presage of victory, and fierce desire of battle, whereat Michael bid sound the archangel trumpet through the vast of heaven. It sounded, and the faithful armies rung Hosanna to the highest, nor stood at gaze the adverse legions, nor less hideous joined the horrid shock. Now storming fury rose, and clamor such as heard in heaven till now was never, arms on armor clashing braid, horrible discord, and the maddening wheels of brazen chariots raged. Dire was the noise of conflict. Overhead the dismal hiss of fiery darts and flaming volleys flew, and flying vaulted either host with fire, so under a fiery cope together rushed. Both battles main with ruinous assault and inextinguishable rage. All heaven resounded, and had earth been then, all earth had to her centre shook. What wonder when millions of fierce encountering angels fought on either side, the least of whom could wield these elements and arm him with the force of all their regions? And how much more of power army against army numberless to raise dreadful combustion, warring and disturb, though not destroy their happy native seat? Had not the eternal King omnipotent from his stronghold of heaven high overruled and limited their might? Though numbered such as each divided legion might have seemed a numerous host, in strength each armed hand a legion, led in fight, yet leader seemed each warrior single as in chief, expert when to advance or stand or turn the sway of battle, open when and when to close the ridges of grim war. No thought of flight, none of retreat, no unbecoming deed that argued fear. Each on himself relied, as only in his arm the moment lay of victory. Deeds of eternal fame were done, but infinite. For wide was spread that war, and various, sometimes on firm ground a standing fight, then soaring on main wing, tormented all the air. All air seemed then conflicting fire. Long time in even scale the battle hung, till Satan, who that day prodigious power had shown, and met in arms no equal, ranging through the dire attack of fighting seraphim confused, at length saw where the sword of Michael smote, and felled squadrons at once with huge two-handed sway, brandished aloft the horrid edge came down wide-wasting. Such destruction to withstand, he hasted, and opposed the rocky orb of tenfold adamant, his ample shield, a vast circumference. At his approach, the great archangel from his warlike toil surceased, and glad, as hoping here to end the intestine war, in heaven the archangel foe subdued, or captive dragged in chains with hostile frown, and visage all inflamed, first thus began. Author of evil, unknown till thy revolt, unnamed in heaven, now plenteous as thou seest, these acts of hateful strife, hateful to all, though heaviest by just measure on thyself and thy adherents. How hast thou disturbed heaven's blessed peace, and into nature brought misery uncreated till the crime of thy rebellion? How hast thou instilled thy malice into thousands once upright and faithful, now proved false? But think not here to trouble holy rest. Heaven cast thee out from all her confines. Heaven, the seat of bliss, brooks not the works of violence and war. Hence then an evil go with thee along, thy offspring to the place of evil hell. Thou and thy wicked crew there mingle broils, ere this avenging sword begin thy doom, or some more sudden vengeance winged from God precipitate thee with augmented pain. So spake the Prince of Angels, to whom thus the adversary. Nor think thou with wind or airy threats to awe whom yet with deeds thou canst not. Hast thou turned the least of these to flight, or if to fall, but that they rise unvanquished, easier to transact with me, that thou couldst hope imperious, and with threats to chase me hence? Ere not that so shall end the strife which thou call'st evil, but we style the strife of glory, which we mean to win, or turn this heaven itself into the hell thou fablest, here however to dwell free, if not to reign. Meanwhile, thy utmost force, and join him named Almighty to thy aid. I fly not, but have sought thee far and nigh. They ended parle, and both addressed for fight unspeakable, for whom, though with the tongue of angels can relate, or to what things liken on earth conspicuous that may lift human imagination to such height of godlike power, for likest gods they seemed, stood they or moved in stature, motion, arms, fit to decide the empire of great heaven. Now waved their fiery swords, and in the air made horrid circles. Two broad suns their shields, blazed opposite, while expectation stood in horror, from each hand with speed retired, where erst was thickest fight, the angelic throng, and left large field unsafe within the wind of such commotion. Such as to set forth great things by small, if nature's concord broke among the constellations, war were sprung, two planets rushing from aspect malign, of fiercest opposition in mid-sky should combat, and their jarring spheres confound. Together, both with next to almighty arm, uplifted imminent, one stroke they aimed, that might determine, and not need repeat, as not of power at once, nor odds appeared, in might or swift prevention, but the sword of Michael from the armory of God was given him tempered so, that neither keen nor solid might resist that edge. It met the sword of Satan, with steep force to smite descending, and in half cut sheer, nor stayed, but with swift wheel reverse, deep entering shard all his right side. Then Satan first knew pain, and with and writhed him to and fro convolved. So sore the gritting sword with discontinuous wound passed through him, but the ethereal substance closed not long divisible, and from the gash a stream of nectarous humor issuing flowed, sanguine, such as celestial spirits may bleed, and all his armor stained erewhile so bright, forthwith on all sides to his aid was run, by angels many and strong, who interposed defense, while others bore him on their shields back to his chariot, where it stood retired from off the files of war, where they him laid gnashing for anguish and despite and shame, to find himself not matchless, and his pride humbled by such rebuke, so far beneath his confidence to equal God in power. Yet soon he healed, for spirits that live throughout, vital in every part, not as frail man in entrails, heart, or head, liver, or reins, cannot but by annihilating die. nor in their liquid texture mortal wound receive, no more than can the fluid air. All heart they live, all head, all eye, all ear, all intellect, all sense, and as they please they limn themselves, and color, shape, or size assume, as likes them best, condense or rare.